Hi, this is Langerman from Violinna.live, helping you along your musical journey. This is a follow-up video to one I made a couple months ago called The Art of Effortless String Crossings, where I talk about the mechanics and how to build a good foundation to having good string crossings. And I realized that, you know what, there are thousands and thousands of etudes out there to help with this. And I decided to make a compilation of some of my go-tos that I like to use depending on what I'm playing. And I hope that this is a guide that can help you create your own kind of compilation that would work best for you based on whatever repertoire you happen to be working on right now. I did also make a blog post about this a couple of weeks ago, but then I realized, you know what, I really need to make a video about this. And also please note that all of these selections are recommended primarily for intermediate and advanced players. Although some of the Sevcik exercises, there are versions in the same opus that would be suitable for beginners as well. I won't go into those in this video, but just to keep that in mind. And also, all of the etudes in this video are available in the public domain, which means you can download them for free on imslp.org. But if you do have the desire to own a hard copy of any of them, I will put Amazon affiliate links to whatever I can find in the description below if you want to add them to your physical collection. And most of these are available for viola as well as transcriptions. The first etude is going to help to create smooth string crossings alternating between two adjacent strings under a slur. We're going to focus on the bow rocking motion as taught by the great pedagogue Paul Rolland. I talked a little bit about this in my previous video, and we're going to start things off with Schradeick, his first book, and we're going to skip to the fourth exercise where we see the string crossings being introduced in first position. And then the pattern starts to change a little bit. So I'm going to skip just a little bit. So if we go to number 6, for example, we get another change of pattern. So sometimes we're alternating and sometimes we're staying on one of the strings a little bit longer. So it keeps changing a little bit, and later we go to, let's say, 2 notes on one string and 2 notes on the other string. So it starts off with one pattern and then slightly the pattern changes so that you start to develop a sense of agility and with the relaxation that you develop in the first ones. And actually we can spend quite a lot of time practicing number 1. It can be very challenging, that very first one, especially the perfect fifth there, but I would actually start by practicing it as double stops. And then you can change your bow whenever you want. So after we practice it as double stops, what we're going to do is use that as our kind of balance point with the bow. That's our elbow level, and we want to feel like we can rock like this. We can do the bow rocking exercise on this in the middle, and also you can check also at the tip if you can do the same thing, this kind of feeling. And then we can start adding the length to that motion. And you can, after you feel comfortable with that, you can do more notes per bow. And so on. The next etude, we are going to go to Kreutzer. And this one focuses on smooth string crossings, just like in the Schradeick. This time we're going to focus on bringing out 2 different voices, and this is also under a slur. Now do notice that different editions of Kreutzer Etudes. They are numbered differently, so depending on which book you are using, the number will vary. I think in the standard version, I think in the standard book, it's number 27, but I am using the book I have on my music stand. It's actually Yampolsky's compilation, the old Moscow edition. I have a coffee spill there from many years ago. I'm still not happy about this coffee spill. Here it is number 13 in the Yampolsky edition. I think both versions are on IMSLP. And in this one, notice that we have two voices, on the A string and on the D string. And I'm going to slur, I'll start with 8 notes per bow. And now switch to A and E. Switch back, A and D. So one of the goals in this etude is to create a very flowing and very subtle adjustment with the elbow, because what we don't want to do is this. I used to play like this. So you hear how the sound changed very abruptly when I switched from string to string, when I moved the whole arm together. But what we want to create, we want to get kind of this natural flowing motion. Think of like an ocean wave as a visualization for this. The next set of etudes, I like to call it the string crossing boot camp. I'm talking, of course, about Sevcik's Opus 2, the School of Bowing Technique, and it actually comes with 5 books. The first book is more suitable for beginners or early intermediate players, although everybody can benefit something from it. Now, in this video, I'm going to focus more on book 4, and actually book 4 and 5 I recommend for advanced repertoire. Actually, in book 5, Sevcik literally just takes a chord progression and makes over 1,000 variations on it. So many different possibilities that might come up in repertoire. I'm sure you can find something among them. Now, we don't want to start practicing these and go into zombie mode, okay? We don't want to become zombies practicing Sevcik. If you are going to practice Sevcik, anything, you got to be super diligent about what your goal is. Be very specific about which exercises you select for yourself and why you're selecting them. Otherwise, you're just going to be stuck on autopilot and it's not going to be very helpful. Okay, so I've actually been working myself. I've been working on from book 4, numbers 32, 33, and 34, because the piece that I'm currently working on has a lot of very tricky string crossings, and what really helps is that Sevcik actually helps to identify the different patterns. So for example, in letter A of number 32, we have groups of 3 notes, and Sevcik puts 2 notes on the lower string, 1 note on the upper string, always like that. Sometimes it's 2 plus 1, and later it goes into lower string, upper string, back to lower string, upper string, back to lower string, and then later he does upper string, 2 on lower string. So it changes the different versions of this as well. And then letter B, you have 1 note on the lower string, 2 notes on the upper string. So the way I recommend to practice this is actually start with practicing the pattern on open string. And then add the chord progressions. They're just arpeggios. And then later it goes into this one's trickier because you have 1 on A string, 1 on E, and then back to A, and it repeats kind of. Sometimes when you see this kind of pattern in repertoire, it can throw you off a little bit, or at least for me it does sometimes. So I like that these exercises also it can take some of that mental baggage out from the repertoire, you know, so that you can practice it separately from whatever it is in the repertoire. That way, when you go back, it just feels a little bit more relaxed and secure. And then if we skip to letter B, we have the opposite. We have 2 notes on the upper string. Or you could practice it with a bowing variation. Or depending on what you need to do. So on the next page you have like a list of all the different bowing patterns that Sevcik gives us. So many. You can come up with your own. You can try these. There are so many possibilities. So just real quick, skipping to number 33, similar idea with groups of 4 notes this time, and this one is really great. So it starts with 1 plus 3, so 1 on the lower string, 3 on the upper string. And then it goes on to opposite, so it starts with 3 and then adds the lower note on the bottom, so on the 3rd line. And then a couple lines down on the lower strings. This one's trickier. 2 on the D string, 1 on the G string, and then 1 on the D string again. So for this one, I would practice the open strings. And note. And you can also kind of take a mental note where to keep fingers down, so that you don't think too much about those. Then, of course, just to save time for the video, letter B, opposite, 3 plus 1, 3 on the bottom, 1 note on top. And then if we go to the next page, we have 2 plus 2, 2 notes on the bottom, 2 notes on top. And we have all the bowing variations after that. And then big number 34, we go into groups of 6 notes. So also good for practicing the bow rocking motion we did earlier. And then actually big number 35, group of 8 notes. So 32nd notes, but I think it's very similar to doing groups of 4. But here again we're doing more of the this motion rather than this one. So it depends on the combination of notes. Great. So you know, depending on what's in your repertoire, you can pick something from here. Again, don't go into zombie mode. Don't just do it as a chore. I mean, Sevcik usually feels like a chore, and I'm not the biggest fan of it, but you know, if you're very diligent, if you have a very specific purpose and you really commit to it, then it's going to benefit you, I promise. Okay, so the next etude I recommend is Kreutzer number 8. It's number 8 in the most well-known editions. The reason I recommend it is because it's going to add a lot of technical elements to string crossing that we already did in the Sevcik and the Schradeick. And that is, first of all, you get a difficult key of E major, and then on top of that, it's going to help you build a left-hand frame in addition to practicing a good détaché bow stroke and coordination. So that's why I would practice this one. And there are some bowing variations in some of the editions, but I would practice this one détaché and very slowly. So things to focus on for the left hand is anticipation. So for example, right here, I have to make sure to get the note B down before the bow crosses over. This is where we're starting to really put that coordination in. B down, cross. Make sure the B, we also want to make sure the B is clears the open E string. So all of these little details, if we slow it down and really zoom in, we can really find so many ways to clean it up, to make it as smooth as possible. Very challenging etude, I think. A lot more difficult than it looks. And similarly, a great follow-up to Kreutzer 8. If we go to the Rolland Etudes, also number 8, this one in F sharp minor. This one is sometimes actually people use this as an alternative, but I actually like to use this one to practice martelé bow stroke. So for martelé, essentially, in this case, we are focusing more on anticipating with the bow. So at the end of the first note, the bow goes to the A string already. This is the last note on the A string. So at the end, the arm has to come to the new string already. So I'm going to just stand a little closer so you can see the bow here a little better. So you see how the bow here switches in between the notes. So at the end of the old note, right away it switches once time. And so on. So that's how I would practice this one. The next one is more challenging, also in the Rolland Etude book, the Caprice book. We're going to go to number 2. I do recommend to do the ones we covered already earlier before doing this one. So in this one we have a combination of rolling the bow across the strings and a lot of rocking the bow as well on the attaché. And we want to have a good octave frame right away for this one as well. So it's a lot of challenges in this one. So that's what we call the Caprice. And so on. So another alternative to this, very similar but also a little different. If you go to Don't, Opus 35, you go to number 5. So just like the Rolland, this one has a lot of the bow rocking. In addition, it also has shifting. It has the element of putting fingers down together because of the tempo, and just because to keep the flow going, we have to put 2 fingers down at the same time a lot. And also we have some extensions added as well. So actually in some cases this one might be a little bit more difficult than Rolland, but I think personally, I think they're around the same level. So I wouldn't practice both of these at the same time, but you know, just pick one. And so on, then goes to A and D string. And then goes into different keys. It's 2 pages long, so I won't play the whole thing here. I would practice this one just like the Kreutzer at the beginning of this video. Start with double stops and very slowly. Shift. 2 fingers down. Second finger moves over. Add the first finger. Lift. 9th. My hand wanted to go into a 10th. So I'm going to go back here. First finger stays. And then shift down. So I would practice like that. And then after that, what you can do is take 2 of these double stops and go back and forth between them. For example, actually this one, where we have to do the shift. so I would go back and forth there a lot. The one with the extension is also a good one. So we have A and open G. So it's two different motions. We have first finger just goes straight down, fourth finger. Because if it was a 10th, my natural instinct is to reach back. In this case, we're actually not going to reach back because the first finger needs to go down. What you could do, if this is a big stretch up for you, is you can move the thumb a little higher, and then that way it changes your hand position from this to that. So you could do that. So that's how I would practice it. And then you can also actually, it doesn't say here, but you could potentially practice this slurred. Because that's going to help the left hand learn when to switch once you start doing the separate bows again. Just like in scales, when you do scales slurred, later playing the scale separately will be a little easier. Or if you have a passage that's slurred, you practice it separately, so you kind of switch. Okay, so that's it for this video, folks. Let me know your biggest takeaway in the comment section below, and let me know if you have any favorite string crossing etudes that I did not mention here. And if you have not already done so, go ahead and grab your free practice template PDF in the description below. Upon doing so, you will be receiving my latest content in blog and video format in your email inbox twice a month, and the ability to reach me directly. Until next time, happy practicing.